So, have you started watching the new comedy Murderbot on Apple Plus? I know Murderbot and comedy don't sound like they should fit together, but it's great. Anyways, in the habitat on the show, they have these hanging gardens teeming with alien plants, and it looks awesome, amazing, astounding. I'm Gardener Coo here with Nacho, and I'm going to show you how to make these suspended gardens for less than $100, and you can really impress your friends. So the first thing you're going to need are the pots. These are easily findable on Amazon. They come in 4 colors: teal, brick red, Murderbot beige, and dark gray. I decided to do a tower of 10 made out of 2 5-packs and a tower of 7. The link is in the description. Feel free to do as many as you like, but remember, the more you do, the more weight you have to support from above and from below. So this probably will require some adjustments on your part. Now that we have our pots, let's go over to our chief engineer Clicky for some structural engineering.
So the first thing we need to consider is how much these are going to weigh. It's not nearly as much as I thought when we first started talking about this, because potting soil is actually pretty fluffy. I got this blue nylon cord here that's supposed to be able to handle 1,000 pounds. That'll definitely be plenty. Now we just need to figure out how we're going to support this on the top and the bottom. These are definitely not designed to be supported entirely from the hole in the middle, so I got a piece of sheet metal to support the base a little bit better. I've got this eyelet here that we're going to tie the cord to, and so we just need to drill a hole in the sheet metal to fit that through. Now we just need to paint it so it won't rust out. It doesn't matter what color you use here, this is going to be hidden. So I'm going to put this between the bottom piece and the bottom pot to even out all the weight, and all you'll see on the bottom from below is this nut and washer. Okay, so I wanted to show you what the assembled bottom is going to look like. So here we have the plastic base that came with the pots. Here's my painted sheet metal. I cut it to a 6x6 inch square and drilled a hole through it, along with a hole through this. Our eyelet goes through that, attached with a a nut and a washer, and the rope is attached to the eyelet with a bowline knot.
For the plants I'm going to be using today, I'm going to be using begonia, this polka dot begonia. It's called Begonia wiggii, excuse the pronunciation. I'm going to use 2 different types of coleus. I have this beautiful green one called wasabi, and then I also have this red one that I honestly don't know the name of anymore. I've been growing it for so long. I'm also going to be using 2 flower powerhouses, and they're very tropical looking. These are the New Guinean patience. This one has a nice yellow variegation in the leaf. Then I also just have a plain green one with pink flowers. And finally, for my spillers, I'm going to be using spider plants, which like to crawl down, and then this beautiful golden Lismachia, or creeping Jenny. All right, so now you want to string the rope through the center of the bottom layer, and then fill that bottom layer pot up with potting soil. My favorite being the Miracle-Gro Yellow. Using any potting soil is really important here because the main reason potting soil was invented was for weight. It is much lighter than planting mixes and crazy lighter than your average garden soil. This will make your life so much easier and with the plants, and it also prevents structural failure from all of those pounds. You want to plant each layer as you assemble it, and I like to use a mix of different leaf colors and flower colors. Texture and habit are also important, meaning you want some plants that drip down and some plants with shiny leaves. Only 1 plant per pouch. You don't want to crowd them. So build this up layer by layer, weaving the rope through and filling with potting soil and planting, and finally stacking on top of the last layer until the second to last layer. Here is where we add irrigation, because who in their right mind wants to get up on a ladder and water these several times a week? No, thank you. Okay, here I am using drip tubing with a 6-inch gap between emitters. You want to string the drip tubing between all 4 pots. I will do a whole video on irrigation later, but honestly it's involved and it's too much to go into for just a Murderbot video. So for the purposes of this video, I will get you from the suspended garden to my main line of water. So you want to connect these to a T-splitter and then connect that to a 1/4-inch vinyl tubing. And you want to run this tubing up to the next level with the rope and then split it again with a 4-way splitter. Repeat putting the drip tubing around the 4 pots, connecting it back into the 4-way splitter. And then connect the 1/4-inch vinyl tubing to the top and run it alongside the rope. Now you may be wondering, why am I only providing water to the top 2 levels? Well, these pots are designed to drip into the levels below them, so they will get trickle-down water. Now, aren't these amazing? It really makes a statement piece in the garden, and I guarantee you none of your neighbors have this craziness. So, what are the lessons we learned while putting these together? One is to always pick up the hanging gardens by the rope. They always want to topple over. I lost the top 2 levels of each of them when moving them and had to reassemble and replant. Blech. Second, use a ton of rope. The best way to get the gardens into place was to have one person pulling from the ground and the other guiding it up into the air. Third, be sure to have something to rest the weight of the garden on in the air. We used a 6-foot ladder and an 8-foot ladder. This makes it possible to tie it off, because otherwise you'd have to try to support the weight of the whole garden 20 feet in the air while tying the knot. Just not possible. I also want to encourage you to be creative about how you can use your suspended gardens. You could put a pulley up at the top and then a rope down to the ground so you could raise and lower them easily. This opens the possibility for growing strawberries, lettuce, beets, micro tomatoes, or even dwarf peppers. You really could have so much fun with this. So go and grow yourself a Murderbot garden. I'm Gardener Coo, Nacho somewhere. Go get creative.